Join me as I dive into the depths of Titanic history to uncover what I believe to be the greatest mistake ever made. The RMS Titanic, the largest ship in the world at the time, set sail on its maiden voyage in 1912 with great fanfare and expectations. But we all know how that story ends. The tragic sinking of the ship, resulting in the loss of over 1,500 lives. Yet, even today, the Titanic story continues to fascinate us, and many of us think we know what really happened. But are we really telling the whole story? The Titanic sinking was a perfect storm of critical mistakes made by the ship's crew and design flaws that contributed to the disaster. One major issue was the ship's high speed in an area known to have icebergs. The crew was pushing the ship to go faster, trying to break records, and that decision would prove fatal. Additionally, the ship's lookouts did not have access to binoculars, a crucial tool for spotting obstacles in the water. These mistakes, combined with the ship's flat bottom and high center of gravity, made it incredibly vulnerable to capsizing. The ship's speed was a major factor in the disaster. The Titanic was going about 22 knots or 25 miles per hour in a region where icebergs were known to exist. This speed made it much harder for the ship to avoid the iceberg, and it also meant that the ship would suffer more damage when it did hit. The lookout practices on board were also subpar. The lookouts did not have access to binoculars, and they were also understaffed. There were only 2 lookouts on duty that night, and they were not adequately trained. The crew's failure to heed iceberg warnings also played a significant role in the disaster. They received several warnings from other ships in the area about icebergs in the vicinity, but these warnings were ignored or not taken seriously. The ship's officers were confident in the Titanic's unsinkability, and they did not take the necessary precautions to avoid the iceberg. This overconfidence would prove to be a deadly mistake. The watertight compartments on the Titanic were also a design flaw. They were not designed to handle the amount of water that poured in after the ship hit the iceberg. The compartments were supposed to be able to supposedly keep the ship afloat, even if 4 of them were flooded. However, the damage from the iceberg exceeded that threshold, and the ship began to list and eventually sank. The most significant mistake made during the Titanic's voyage was the crew's decision to alter course and head straight into the known ice field. This decision put the ship directly in harm's way and set off a chain of events that would ultimately lead to its demise. By going full steam ahead into an area with known icebergs, the crew essentially took a huge gamble with the lives of everyone on board. The consequences of these mistakes were catastrophic, and they led to one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history. Over 500 people lost their lives, and the tragedy sent shockwaves around the world. So, what can we learn from the Titanic's mistakes? We can learn the importance of humility, caution, and attention to safety protocols. So, what do you think was the greatest mistake made during the Titanic's voyage? Share your thoughts in the comments below! If you're interested in more stories like this, be sure to check out my other videos on maritime history. Thanks for watching.